This is land of Havilah, Exodus 33. After Israel made the golden calf, Yahweh was very angry and ready to consume them and start all over just with Moses. But Moses fasted and prayed for Israel 40 days and nights, Deuteronomy 9:18. Yahweh relented and didn't destroy them, but coming up he's withdrawing his plan to dwell with them. Verse 1. Yahweh spoke to Moses, "Depart, go up from here, you and the people that you brought up out of the land of Egypt, to the land which I swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, saying, I will give it to your offspring. I will send an angel before you, and will drive out the Canaanite, the Amorite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, to a land flowing with milk and honey. For I will not go up among you, for you are a stiff-necked people, lest I consume you on the way." Comment. In verse 1, again, Yahweh didn't claim Israel. He called them the people Moses brought from Egypt. He's seething with disgust for them. He didn't kill them like he was going to. Instead, in verse 3, he's withdrawn from them. Quote, "I will not go up among you." End quote. The construction of Yahweh's dwelling place, his tent, is in cancellation. He says, just leave now and go to the land. In verse 3, if he were to go up with them, he would consume them on the way. In verse 2, instead of going with them personally, he'll send an angel to drive out the inhabitants of the promised land. Verse 4, when the people heard this evil news, they mourned, and no one put on his jewelry. Yahweh said to Moses, "Tell the children of Israel, you are a stiff-necked people. If I were to go up among you for one moment, I would consume you. Therefore now take off your jewelry from you, that I may know what to do with you." Comment in verse 4, when the people heard the news, they mourned, and no one put on his jewelry, which was a positive response. In verse 5, when Yahweh saw them mourning, he cracked a little bit and implied he might change his mind. Quote, "Take off your jewelry that I may know what to do with you." End quote. He wants to wait and see if the repentance is in earnest. We see he wants to have a relationship with them, but it'll have to be on his terms. He's never pulled so close to any large group of people. If it weren't for Moses intervening on their behalf, they'd already be dead. Which is a picture of Christ. If it weren't for Christ intervening on our behalf, our relationship with God would be a total loss. So let's repent in earnest and beg for God to draw near. We have Christ as our advocate, so though we might be repugnant to God because of our sin, we have Christ before the throne intervening for us. We want God to go with us. In James 4, verses 8 through 10, there's the promise, quote, "Draw near to God, and he'll draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Lament, mourn, and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning, and your joy to gloom. Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he'll exalt you." End quote. Verse 6. The children of Israel stripped themselves of their jewelry from Mount Horeb onward. Comment coming up, a note of explanation. Verse 7. Now Moses used to take the tent and pitch it outside the camp, far away from the camp, and he called it the tent of meeting. Everyone who sought Yahweh went out to the tent of meeting, which was outside the camp. Comment, this is not the tent of meeting Yahweh described to Moses on the mountain. It's the one they already had. It says Moses used to pitch it far outside the camp, and the people went there to seek Yahweh. It wasn't in the middle of the camp, dwelling directly with the people, as Yahweh planned with the tabernacle. It was outside the camp, but the place we want God is inside us, dwelling with us. Verse 8. When Moses went out to the tent, all the people rose up and stood, everyone at their tent door, and watched Moses until he had gone into the tent. Comment, by the end of the 9th plague in Egypt, Moses was very great in the sight of the people. Exodus 11:3. They rebelled once at Marah, where they couldn't drink the water, and at Massah, where there was no water, and now at Sinai with the golden calf. But generally they held Moses in great esteem. In verse 8, as Moses was walking out of the camp to do business with Yahweh in the tent, they all rose up, stood in the doors of their tents, and watched him until he had gone into the tent of meeting outside the camp, with only one hope in their mind, that Moses would have success in convincing Yahweh to go with them. Verse 9. When Moses entered into the tent, the pillar of cloud descended, stood at the door of the tent, and spoke with Moses. All the people saw the pillar of cloud stand at the door of the tent, and all the people rose up and worshipped, everyone at their tent door. Yahweh spoke to Moses face to face as a man speaks to his friend. He turned again into the camp, but his servant Joshua, the son of Nun, a young man, didn't depart from the tent. Comment: the pillar of cloud, which has been present the entire time, descended to the door of the tent of meeting when Moses came. Yahweh spoke to Moses from the cloud face to face, it says, but Moses couldn't see Yahweh's face, as we soon find out. In verse 11, Moses came back to the camp, but Joshua stayed in the tent of meeting. So what was Yahweh's decision about going up with them to the promised land or not, or just sending an angel? Coming up, the details of the conversation. Moses had more to say about it. Verse 12. Moses said to Yahweh, "Behold, you tell me, bring up this people, and you haven't let me know whom you will send with me. Yet you've said, I know you by name, and you've also found favor in my sight." Comment: Moses says, "What did I do to deserve being abandoned? You said you knew me, and you said I found favor in your sight. What's happened between you and me that now you're sending me away? I know you, but I don't know the angel you're talking about. When you sent me on this mission, I told you I didn't want to do it, but you said, 'Behold, I'll be with you.' So I agreed." Moses continues, verse 13. "Now therefore, if I've found favor in your sight, please show me now your way, that I may know you, so that I may find favor in your sight. And consider that this nation is your people." Comment: now Yahweh responds, verse 14. He said, "My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest." Comment: Yahweh agreed to go with them. But coming up, Moses wants to make sure Yahweh's firm on that. Verse 15. He said to him, "If your presence doesn't go with me, don't carry us up from here. For how would people know that I've found favor in your sight, I and your people? Isn't it that you go with us, so that we're separated, I and your people, from all the people who are on the surface of the earth?" Yahweh said to Moses, "I will do this thing also that you've spoken, for you found favor in my sight, and I know you by name." Comment: Yahweh says, "I'll do this thing also," meaning he'll do what Moses asked in verse 13, which was, "Please show me your way," and in verse 15, "If you don't go with me, don't carry us up from here." So Yahweh will show him his way and go with him. He said he would do it because he knows Moses by name, and Moses has found favor in his sight. But that's true of all of us, that he knows us by name, and since he provided his own Son for us, which was the most extreme gift he could give, he won't withhold anything, Romans 8:32. So it's for all of us that he'll show us his way and remain with us. Quote, "I will in no way leave you, neither will I in any way forsake you," Hebrews 13:5. Coming up, since Yahweh said yes to that, Moses will ask for more while he's on a roll. Verse 18. He said, "Please show me your glory." He said, "I will make all my goodness pass before you, and will proclaim Yahweh's name before you. I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and I will show mercy on whom I will show mercy." He said, "You cannot see my face, for man may not see me and live." Comment: Moses said, "Please show me your glory," and Yahweh responded with less than full agreement. What he will do for Moses is make all his goodness pass before him. For you and me, God might not fully agree with every request, but anything that's good, he'll give us. He'll make all his goodness pass before us. We'll see it happen. Every good thing will come down the pike to us from God. All his goodness will pass before us. In verse 19, he'll be gracious to whom he's gracious. In other words, if he's gracious to us, it won't come in partial measure. It'll come in full measure. He'll be 100% gracious to whom he's gracious. He doesn't dish it out stingily like he doesn't have enough to go around. His grace and mercy are total to those he grants it. We need to wrestle with God like Moses so that he'll agree to show us his goodness, proclaim his name to us, and show us his grace and mercy, which, when he shows it, is total. On these matters, Moses wrestled with God on behalf of himself and all Israel that he would go with them. He got Israel out of a lot of hot water by interceding for them. Christ makes intercession for us. If Moses was able to get Israel out of hot water, how much more can Christ get us out of hot water? If Moses was able to convince God to go with them and to show him his way, how much more will Christ convince God to go with us, show us his way, make all his goodness pass before us, and be gracious and merciful to us to the extreme? Verse 21. Yahweh also said, Behold, there is a place by me, and you shall stand on the rock. It will happen while my glory passes by that I'll put you in a cleft of the rock, and will cover you with my hand until I've passed by. Then I'll take away my hand, and you will see my back, but my face shall not be seen. Comment, there's a hymn that comes from this passage, He hideth my soul in the cleft of the rock. In the context of it here, it wasn't about God shielding Moses from the disappointments of life. It was about God protecting Moses from the consequences of a full-on encounter with himself, which would have killed him. Quote, Man may not see me and live, end quote, as Yahweh just said in verse 20. Exodus 34 is next at landofhavilah.net, Exodus 34.